Hello and welcome to Doubles and Trebles. Going on a bit of a solo this evening as we look through in this video quarter one, specifically quarter one of the World Darts Championships 2022. Can you believe we're saying 2022 already? But it's the big one in the darts. And I've done a bit of analysis on each of the 8 seeds in quarter one, and there's a couple of unseeded players that go in the first round that certainly deserve a mention. Quick rattle through all players. There's only one place to start, and that is with Gerwyn Price. He's 4-1 to win the tournament as a whole, and he's 5-4 to win this quarter. So to win the quarter final and make it to the semis, he's 5-4 to do that. I'll quote those prices for each player as we go along. But yeah, Gerwyn Price, the reigning world champion, the world number one, the man to beat in many ways, obviously, but very much beatable as the odds suggest. I mean, we said this last year that it was pretty open. Going off topic slightly, remember saying that MVG last year was the biggest prize for the World Championships he's been since 2015. But away from that, I think that this is possibly, and someone will correct me if I'm wrong, I think this is the first time since 1995 that the betting favourite for the World Darts Championship has been as big as 4-1. And that's what Gerwyn Price is. Like I say, I'm happy to be corrected, but what I'm saying is it's wide open, and that's where myself and Pineman come in from a betting perspective as we look for the value. Gone are the days when Taylor and MVG used to win 15 tournaments a year. This is not an era of dominance by any player. The last 4 renewals have been won by 4 different men. Gerwyn Price, obviously, last year being the most recent of those 4. Price has had plenty of TV quarterfinals this year, no doubt about it. He's been beaten in quarterfinals by the likes of Dimitri, Johnny Clayton, much more about him shortly, and MVG. You could argue that really Gerwyn Price's season as world number one and reigning world champion didn't really get going until the Grand Slam. The tournament is now won 3 times. The last major before the Worlds is the Grand Slam. And like I say, it was his 3rd win in that. He dominated the latter stages of the Grand Slam, to be honest, the final day. Convincing wins over Clayton, where he was actually the outsider in the betting against Johnny Clayton. I'll touch on that a bit later, but yeah, Gerwyn Price went off as the outsider in a 2-horse race versus Johnny Clayton at the Grand Slam. I thought that was a bit of a changing of the guard at the time almost. He beat Wade in the semi-final, and right in the final of the Grand Slam, he was dominant on the final day. Wasn't too convincing before that, Gerwyn Price, but he was dominant on the final day. But I don't think the draw's been kind to Price. As you can see there on your screen, I've seen number 1 seeds with much easier draws in the World Championships, that is for sure. You know, the massive blot on the copybook, if you like, is Johnny Clayton, who is in this section. He's in this section as the number 8 seed. You know, he's the 3rd in the betting to win the whole tournament, but yet he's the number 8 seed. We'll come on to that in a minute. A potential quarter-final with Clayton, as mentioned, that's a biggest potential headaches. But the likes of Bunting, a semi-finalist last year, and even Fallon Sherrock could await Price in round 3. So it's far from straightforward. My next statement is obvious, but still stands. Gerwyn Price, at his very best, is the best in the world. That is obvious. There's no doubt in my mind. I think it's a format that suits him. He can grow into the tournament, which he likes to do. He'll obviously be bang up for retaining his title. And it's going to be interesting how the crowd react to Price and how Price reacts to the crowd. Obviously, there wasn't a crowd there last year. He'll have to be bang on it with that draw. He certainly will. So that's Gerwyn Price covered. Obviously, the headline act in the first quarter. Just moving down to Kim Huybrechts, the final seed, the 32nd seed. Yeah, he's going to be facing Fallon Sherrock or Steve Beaton in his first game. Fallon Sherrock, you know, was a sensation at the Grand Slam and is likely to be so again and heavily supported again at the Worlds. Faces Steve Beaton in the first game, a game of which I think Fallon is favourite for on the betting, which is incredible when you think about it. But yeah, Kim Huybrechts 250-1 to win outright, 40-1 just to make the semi-final or win this section. Has shown better form in the second half of the year, particularly on the floor events, Kim. And in the World Series finals, he went pretty well. He beat Price 6-0 or 6-1 there. Inconsistencies remain, and he won't relish a potential second round tie with Fallon, that is for sure. Often shows his best at Ali Pali and has done well there before. The 16th seed and next on the list, Steve Bunting, 100 to 1 to win it, 25 to 1 for this quarter. Now, if you'd have told me Stephen Bunting would be 100 to 1 for the 2022 World Championships 11 months ago, I'd have backed him there and then. You could have taken my money. He was a semi-finalist here last year, showing what I thought was career best form. He was excellent at times. Wins against Wade, Searle, Ratajski, on the way to a semi-final, narrow defeat to the eventual winner Price. I thought at that time that Bunting would really kick on into 2021, but he hasn't. That is a fact. It simply hasn't happened for him. Unfortunately, he's not replicated that sensational form of last year's Worlds. Yes, there's been glimpses of it. He made the semi-final in the Grand Prix, but it's been few and far between for Bunting this calendar year in 2021. He didn't even qualify for the European Championships, went out in the Grand Slam group stage, which was a disappointment, and he went out in the first round of the recent Players' Championship finals. He does have that all-important Ali Pali form. I love a player that's gone well at Alexandra Palace in the Worlds before. Bunting clearly has done that, and he did it as recently as last year, but he will definitely need a return to that form to trouble Price in a potential round 4 match. Next seed on the list, Dirk van Dijvenbode, the 17 seed. He's 100 to 1 to win the tournament outright, or 20 to 1 to win this quarter. A career best quarter-finalist here last year, but simply hasn't done it in the big tournaments at all this year. He's had first round exits in the match play, the Grand Prix, the Players' Championship finals. He has produced some brilliant performances on the tour events, particularly, and been solid in that sphere all year. But he needs his A game to be back. I think Dirk can go on and win a big TV major at some stage in his career. Still pretty young in terms. He got to the final of, I think it was the match play in 2020. Yeah, in 2020, where he got beat by, was it Gerwyn Price in the final? He's made a major final from pretty much out of nowhere, but he's not really kicked on. He's going to need his A game, and I'd actually back Bunting to beat Dirk in round 3. It looks like they will face off there. So yeah, my confidence in Dirk for this tournament is low, but going forward, I think he's a good player. So the big talking point of section 1 or quarter 1 is that Johnny Clayton is in there, an anomaly in the form book, quite simply. He's the 4th favourite in the betting, one of only 4 players under 10 to 1, yet he's the 8th seed. And the reason for that, he's had a breakthrough year, massive breakthrough year for Clayton. Excellent, in fact. Started the year by winning the Masters, then he won the Premier League on debut. In his first season, he's won the Premier League. Then he's absolutely dominated Price in the Grand Prix. He does arrive here as the 8th seed due to the Masters and the Premier League being unranked events. The Grand Prix is obviously a ranked event, and that certainly helped him when winning that, and he was fantastic in that final against Price. Clayton was way off, I thought, in the Players' Championship finals just last week. I thought he was really struggling for form, scraped through the first couple of rounds, but somehow made the semi-final. He only had 2 averages of over 90 in 6 games. That tells you all you need to know for Clayton's form in the Players' Championship finals. I think Clayton's got a tricky draw. Clemens, Michael Smith and Price to get over, but he should have enough to beat the first 2 listed, and then it'll be the showdown with Smith. A Price versus Clayton quarterfinal could be an absolute belter. And just want to mention there, the last time, as I said, the last time Price and Clayton played, the bookies made Clayton a very slight favourite to beat Gerwyn Price. Gerwyn Price was the outsider of the 2. Now, Gerwyn Price is 5 to 4 to win this quarter, and Johnny Clayton is 11 to 4. So, have they made their mind up who they fancy out of Johnny Clayton and Gerwyn Price? For me, Price is still the superior player, but there's not much between them. But Gerwyn Price would be the one for me out of the 2. The next seed in this draw is Gabriel Clemens, the 25 seed. He's 150 to 1 to win the tournament, 28 to 1 to win this section. He made the 4th round here last year and dumped out the defending champion Snakebite along the way. Possibly a career best performance, particularly on the TV from Clemens. Then he's another, and there's many of these I'm going to mention in these videos, he's another who's threatened at times this year, but does lack the consistency in the big tournaments. When he's on, he's very, very on, Gabriel Clemens, but sometimes he can shy away from the finish line, and he was far from convincing in the recent Players' Championship finals. His first and only showing since Fallon dumped him out of the Grand Slam. He'll definitely need to get over that if he's to regain his form on the big stage. I doubt he'll get past Clayton in round 3, to be honest. Michael Smith, the number 9 seed, is 28 to 1 to win the tournament and 13 to 2 to win this section. He was runner-up in 2020 in the Worlds, and it's well known that Bully Boy has been knocking on the door of a big win for some time. But it's also well known that he does struggle to get over the line, unfortunately for him. None more so than when he was 12-8 up against Snakebite in the recent Grand Slam semi-final, and he lost 8 legs on the spin. From a 12-8 up, he lost 16-8. That really, unfortunately, typifies Smith. I wish it didn't. I really like him. I want him to win a big one sooner rather than later. But that's been the same old story for some time, unfortunately. I'd love to see him go on and go well here. A fourth tie with Clayton could be a cracker. Smith would be the underdog in that game, but if he's on top form, he can give anyone a game. Michael Smith. Talking of people that are not on top form, Glenn Durrant. Yeah, a 33-1 shot for this last year. He's 500-1 this year. That tells you pretty much all you need to know. He's actually 150-1 just to win this quarter. It's been a really tough time for Glenn. We know the story. A 3-time BDO world champion, was flying up the PDC rankings and even won the Premier League on debut in 2020. Then COVID hit in the summer of 2020. It hit Glenn personally, and it's been downhill from there, to be honest. I do admire Glenn for plugging on, and I hope he can turn it round. But the signs aren't good. Willie O'Connor would likely be the betting favourite against Glenn in round 2, should he get there. Just best wishes to Glenn going forward, and hopefully he can regain some form. So that's the 8 seeds in quarter 1 wrapped up quickly for you there. I'm going to do 3 or 4 videos like this, and Pie Man will be chipping in as well along the way as we keep the content going during this busy period. In conclusion, I think Gerwyn Price has got a tricky draw. Like I say, I've seen number 1 seeds with much easier draws than what Gerwyn Price is going to get. Can you imagine a potential 3rd round showdown between Gerwyn Price and Fallon Sherrock? Now, there's a couple results got to go Fallon's way to get there, but it's certainly not out of the question. She's favourite to beat Steve Beaton. She'll fancy her chances against Kim, and then Gerwyn Price in the 3rd round. Oh, you can just imagine the atmosphere for that one. I think Stephen Bunting will possibly be Gerwyn Price's 4th round opponent. I think Bunting can get past the likes of Big Dirk. I think Johnny Clayton does have the beating of the 3 seeds in his little section, but there'll be some entertaining games along the way. And then the quarter-final that everyone wishes for, Gerwyn Price against Johnny Clayton. That's what I'm hoping for. That's what looks most likely. But as a result of this section being full of talent and Johnny Clayton being the 8th seed and somewhat of a left field story or an anomaly in the draw, it's difficult to pick out a bet in this one. If it would have to be Price, but I certainly wouldn't be putting my money on him. So that's quarter 1 wrapped up, and we'll speak to you soon for the other 3 quarters. Thank you.